engage more. If Izzy's going to run, like you said, it was on him to engage and make it into a fight. He did not do that. And like I said, man, when you don't fight, you can't be upset at the result.
Now, oftentimes, or sometimes I should say, at the highest level, we do get fights like this, right? And as Dominic Cruz just texted me, when you have two guys whose styles on the feet are rooted in counter-striking, sometimes fights can play out like this, right? In terms of the total...
All right, guys, Chillcast MMA. So obviously that was some of the recording you guys just heard. I'm recording this fresh, March 8th, my birthday, 2020. Obviously we all know UFC 248 just wrapped up, and I never really tried this before, so I'm just gonna give it a try. Hope my audio sounds right. I'm gonna obviously try and get that figured out, but yeah, so Israel Adesanya, he's still the middleweight champion, UFC middleweight champion. He just defeated Yoel Romero. It was a weird fight, man. Obviously, it's like it just wrapped up, so I guess we're going to have to revisit this a little bit later on and give sort of reaction and deep analysis and stuff like that. But first of all, kudos to Neil Magny, because just right off the bat, he was the main guy I was looking forward to on this card, just to see, like, where is he at, because it's been a while. And you'll just have to excuse me. It's like, you guys know how it is. When the fights just wrap up, even if they're not, you know, the best, so to speak. Hold on, let me actually get comfortable. So, just cheering, creaking the whole time. My bad, guys. But yeah, the fights just wrapped up. And yeah, like I said, Neil Magny, he was the guy I was really looking forward to, just to see where's he at. Like, what's going on with Neil Magny. Just trying to figure that out. And he looked good. He looked good. He kept the pressure going. I don't want to try and give any sort of deep analysis right now. But just my initial reaction and my initial takeaway is that Neil Magny, he's still here, and he's showing that he's got a lot left to go. I know that he's sort of peaked out around the top 10. I think he's ready to make another push at it. And again, like I said, this isn't a fight where I'm looking at him and I'm like, okay, this is going to tell me a lot. That lets me know that you're still here to stay. Obviously, you're not a stepping stone. But now let's see what you can do with the rest of the year. If at the end of the year you're 2-1, 1-2, I don't really know about it, but if this can really put together a 3-4 fight win streak for the rest of the year, let's see. Go for it. But the co-main event, I guess I'll start there. The co-main event, Weili Zhang, she took on Joanna Jedrzejczyk, and God, that was one of the greatest fights I've seen in a while. It's like I don't want to go as far because honestly, even though I was retweeting and stuff, I guess now that a little bit of time has passed, for me, the fight that I'll say is the greatest WMMA fight I've ever seen, to me, I still got to say that it's Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. I still just have to say that. That is the single greatest performance, singular performance Holly Holm had at date. And that was also just a perfect example at the time of someone doing everything completely wrong. And it just, context is key. And if you remember at the time when Ronda was on the top, yada, 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 it's all been said by now, but that's still my pick. But nonetheless, that fight was a barn burner. Joanna, she is definitely going to be feeling it tomorrow. She's got the alien forehead going on. Her stuff was swollen. And it's just like, I thought she was going to win the fight if you just go based off of the first couple rounds, because she started off hot. And then somewhere, I don't know, it felt like around the later part of that second round, definitely in the third round, the momentum definitely shifted. And it shifted in a big way towards Weili. And it felt like every time Joanna, especially in those championship rounds, it felt like she was digging deep. She was going for it. And she's slick. Her technique is extremely slick. But it's like every time she would land a kick, Weili would, plant her feet and land that counter. It's sort of, in a way, the same thing that I would say about Lee the Leech, except with Weili Zhang, she was able to commit to it in the championship rounds, and she had a lot of movement going. That's one thing, I guess, for me, that's one of my huge takeaways looking back on this one. It's just her cardio, it seemed, through the roof on this one. She truly, like I just said, anytime Joanna in those championship rounds, when she was trying to dig deep, Weili was able to answer back just enough to where it was like, you're not going to get a clean exchange off me. None of Joanna's exchanges were clean. That's sort of like, anytime you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. It's not necessarily like, it's taxing to try and do that and to keep that up over the course of 25 minutes. but it pays dividends. And clearly, I mean, she won, and I guess we could sort of talk about what's going to go down moving forward. And again, I'm recording this, like, probably by the time I get this uploaded, the press conference will just be sort of in full swing. So you had to excuse me. And obviously, I'm going to get my guy Austin on here, see what's up with Austin. Shout out to him. For me to try and slow it down a quick second, try and let the fights digest a quick bit. But yeah, it's my birthday, turning 28 here in Philadelphia. So just taking it low key. I just wanted to actually watch the fights for once because Yoel, man, he's must-see TV. And I guess I'll get to that next, but this was just something like I just wanted to see these fights. This was one of those sneaky cards where you're like, if you just look at it on paper and you're trying to throw a major party or something, I don't know about that. But if you're a fight fan and you're just trying to, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just talking on my ass or whatever, maybe I'm just a little bit too hype on the fights, but it's like, you ever had those moments where you're like, yo, I'm going to just bunker down and see what's up with watching this fight card. Like, I just want to see what these guys got. This was sort of that card for me. The McGregor, Khabib, Tony. That's when you hit up the homies, you see what's up, you hit the bars, you go downtown, South Philly. That's when you do that dance. But this was one of those cards where you're like, no, I need to see what's going to happen. And now let's get to the main event. Because that was one of the weirdest main events I've ever seen watching this sport in a long time. And it's odd because all of the fights that I've had to say that, they all have Yoel Romero in it. It's like, I'm sorry, and let me know, hit me up. Actually, I want to hear what you guys think about this. But Yoel, it's like he gets the eye poke. I get it. You know, what are you going to say? You're not going to tell the guy, oh, come on. If he's seeing double, he's got the double vision going. All right, I get it. I understand it. But it's like, Yoel, he takes the eye poke. And it's like, I can't help but think it's like 10, 15 seconds. Yes, you get 5 minutes, but it's just, I don't know. And then after the fight, when the fight's over, and it's frustrating, I guess that is one thing that I will gripe about. And maybe by Wednesday, Thursday, by the end of the week, I'll forget about it, change my tune, and come back here and correct myself. But as we sit here right now, and especially on my birthday, I'm going to use that as an excuse to say Israel Adesanya really ticked me off at the end of that one. Come on, man. I just watched 5 rounds. You got to understand. See, this is what you athletes don't understand, is that when you talk about watching your fights, you're asking someone to sacrifice a night to stay in, to not do something, and especially on holidays and stuff, when people have events coming up, people try and plan around it. So when you don't show up, it's like, I understand it, especially as someone that, you know, has done sport before. I understand, you know, like, you have bad days, and it's like, what are you going to say? Like, it's not up to you ultimately. Like, Izzy, you won the fight, so technically from your perspective, you're like, what are you talking about? I did my job. But it's like, when you talk about stardom and how come I'm not getting paid, and we have these conversations, this is the sort of stuff that people bring up, and this is the sort of stuff that can turn fans away. It's like, bro, like, imagine if I had, you know, and this has happened in the past, where it's like you have a bunch of people over, and you're all like, okay, you slug through the card, it's 6-7 hours, everyone's like, okay, whatever, they'll get through it, because, you know, he promised us this main event, this is going to be so great, and then that happens. It's like, if that was my first time watching Israel Adesanya and Romero, and then I hear after the fight, one of the first things Israel Adesanya says is, I could go 5 more rounds. I don't want to hear that. If you could go 5 more rounds, why don't you dump that into your gas tank and get him out of there? And I'm not going to let Yoel Romero off the hook either. It's like, yeah, I know I'm a fan, he's sort of the marquee to me. But at the same time, don't bark and get in his face and yell like DMX after the fight is over, when you just had a half hour to put hands on him and you did nothing. It's like, Izzy, you talking slick. Romero, you talking about all the people, they want to pay the money, you understand this and that. Well, if you understand what happened, how can both of you sit there and bark like dogs? Y'all should both be tired. Y'all should both be exhausted, falling over. Israel Adesanya looks like he just went through a sparring session. And I understand, like, again, strategy, things like that. And yeah, I'm a little bit hot, and someone is easily going to point that out. And yeah, that's true. But again, this is what you're talking about. The flip side of it, like, damn it, like, I'm not getting paid from the UFC. As a fan, I don't have to always think about, oh, the the sport and the company, but the UFC does this. No, sometimes as a fan, you're allowed to say, that ticked me off. I'm not cool with that. That was kind of corny. Like, Paul Acosta being there, like, with the Miami Vice vibe, that was kind of corny to me. Like, what have you done? Like, the bar to getting a UFC title shot just keeps getting diminished. And it's like, what is going on here? And now it's starting to reflect in the fans. It's like, you look at the fans, when they're panning the camera into the crowd and they're showing all the different athletes, it's like, look at the guys that are getting the pop. Justin Gaethje got a pop. Donald Cerrone got a pop. And I'm sure maybe one or two other people got a pop. But I feel like you guys know what I'm talking about or can at least follow along. And it's like, that reflects it. The guys that get the pop are the guys that have put up numbers and they show up consistently. Even if they lose, they show up consistently. And it's just one of those things where, like, as a fan, like, you say that annoyed me that Paulo Costa showed up, and they're like, oh, you don't get it, the sport, the media, like, you have to understand the clicks in the sport. And, like, again, this just harks back to, and I am going to get back into the fight, but again, this just is something that it bothers me, and it just comes to a full head once again, where you have a fight where I feel like Yoel, I don't want to say he got robbed, but I scored it for Yoel, basically. 3-2, but whatever, the fight was so weird. Like, how do you score that first round? How do you seriously score that first round? As someone that's a judge or a referee or someone that's a little bit deeper in the know-how when it comes to the scoring criteria in MMA, I would love to hear, how do you actually score a round where both of the guys do absolutely nothing? And it's like, it just goes from there. But again, the sort of point that I want to get back to is just, as a fan, like, I'm going to say, and I would encourage everyone, and maybe you guys have heard this before, so just please hit that skip button. But if you haven't heard it before, or you're new, or you don't know about it, like, it's like, every time you complain about something, people are like, oh, well, you got to respect the fighters. You don't know what they're going through. Okay, I don't. I get it. I know. But, like, people are shelling out time. And if you're not shelling out time, you're shelling out money to watch this stuff. And you're staying in, and you could be doing other stuff. There's NBA games going on. There's other stuff you could just go out and do. You could go see people, especially when you have a work schedule and you have to balance this stuff out. Sometimes you have to take a shift off just to watch a card because you're really excited for it, and it's all worth it. But it's just like, come on. Like, at the same time, I'm just not going to bite my tongue when everyone is excited for the Conor McGregor and the lights and the bright lights and the A-listers and the John Jones. When everyone's excited about that, they want us to be loud about it. But when we get annoyed about something, they're like, oh, you complain too much. I'm sorry. That really annoyed me. Israel Adesanya, yes, he won the fight, and he's still the UFC reigning middleweight champion. But it's like, what's going on with middleweight? Ever since Anderson left, it just feels like it's officially at that point where I'm willing to say middleweight is weird now. Just like how welterweight was a little weird after GSP left. It's like, once the institution leaves, we think we're going to crown this guy, and then it doesn't happen, and it's just kind of weird now. And now, what I mean by that is Weidman. Weidman was going to be the guy, right? Where's Weidman now? Where's Weidman? And it was going to be Robert Whittaker. He runs into the injury bug. Then it was supposed to be Luke Rockhold. Where's Luke Rockhold? And it's like, now we got Israel Adesanya. And yes, he's supposed to be the guy, right? But, and I said this earlier to someone else, one of my friends. And again, I want to hear comments on this stuff. Like, I don't know how this podcast format goes with you guys giving back comments or feedback and stuff, but I do have a Twitter page at Nixon_speaks. I have a YouTube page, Chillcast MMA. So please actually give me feedback, like, because yes, the downloads and the views and the likes and shares, they're wonderful, and I greatly appreciate it. But if I don't get actual feedback and comments, like of people saying you're wrong or you're right, then I genuinely just feel like people are listening to me and I'm just blowing hot air. Like, guys are checking the podcast out, they're listening, they're realizing, guy's kind of generic, he's not really saying much, and it's like, I don't want to go too deep one way or the other because I'm sort of trying to check the temperature of the room. And yes, this is all opposite, I guess, podcasting 101, but I'm trying to figure this format out, and that's why I'm sort of doing this, trying to switch up the format a little bit, because it has been a little minute too, trying to sort of solidify my YouTube stuff. But getting back to UFC 248, it's just one of those things where I'm looking at Weili Zhang, what's next for her, right? Because I feel like her star goes up a little bit. I mean, she didn't put the beat down on. It's just that visual, right, of Joanna's forehead. I mean, her face is gonna be, she's gonna be sore. She's gonna be feeling that one for a while, and I feel for her because I feel like for her that was probably the best fight I've seen. Joanna's one of the ones that's actually put up numbers, and she's had a lot of classic fights. But for me, as far as her catalog is concerned, when I look back on it, this is number one for her. And it was in a loss, but sometimes that happens, right? Like where your best performance is actually a loss. Sometimes that can happen. But for Weili, I just got to think her stock goes up, right? I would like to see it get ran back, maybe International Fight Week, but that's one of those things where, are you going to just tell Joanna, like, yeah, sure, that's what we're trying. Like, I'm sure she's going to need some time. I'm sure she's going to want to develop a little bit more. I don't feel like this is one of those cases where, oh, Joanna lost, you know, let her fight the Q again. I know you could say, oh, she's going back and forth. I know you could say that. She's taking time off. Yes, yes, yes. All those things are true before you leave those comments. But at the same time, like, that was a hell of a fight. That was top tier MMA. That was top class striking. The grappling kind of light, but that was fine because the striking was it was top tier. It's not really going to get much better than that. And again, for me, it's one of those things where I can't imagine what type of pain Joanna was in those later rounds. For her to take those punches, because it's not when you're out at distance and you're taking that jab, and you can brace for it. It's like, okay, those are the punches where you're like, you kind of sort of expect those. And even if they land on the spot that's clearly swollen, which is your entire face, so I don't know how that works out, but nonetheless, that just sort of speaks to it even more. Like you see guys with a broken orbital bone. Imagine your whole face is broken. The whole top half of your face is broken and it's swollen by 2 inches. And then try to go for a single leg. Good God. Almost cursed. But it's just one of those things with Joanna. Those punches at distance, the ones you sort of see coming, those aren't the ones I'm sort of worried about. It's those ones where you throw your combo, you land maybe 1-2, you have a nice little exchange, and then you're done, and you try to get that one little breath, and as soon as you go for it, damn, she countered. She threw a jab. She countered with a leg kick. Those are the ones that just tax your gas tank the worst, and you could just see it, but nonetheless, she just kept going for it. But Weili, I just want to see what's up with her. Does she want to run it back? Does she actually want to try and chase Shevchenko now? That's going to be an interesting storyline to follow. But honestly, for me, as I look at the main event, I don't really know. Because, all right, you tell me, am I wrong in that, yeah, the fight was, like, stuff did happen, but, like, at no point, like, a fight that just leaves me on the edge of the seat for the whole fight, to me, that's not a good fight. Like, at some point, yes, when you're just sort of watching those tense fights where it just feels like at any point anything could happen, yes, a couple of those are good, and a couple of those are good here and there, but it's just like, nah, not when, I don't know, it's one of those things, and tell me if I'm wrong. For me, I look at it like, yo, I've been watching MMA for a long time. Not as long as some of you guys out there, like the real hardcores, but I've been watching it for a little minute now. And when you have to watch fights like that, it just is like, come on, man. Like, I'd seen so much better on regional cards. And obviously, you don't want to just say that. I'm not trying to say that a regional guy could even hold a candle to either one of those guys. But it's just one of those things where, like, when you stay in on an event day, plot your whole day, sometimes your whole weekend, around just trying to watch one card, and you go through the 6-hour stretch to get to the finish line, and you're tired as hell, and you're hungry as hell, and you, like, we all know what it is when you get to that point, but you're like, no, because the main event, that's what it is, that's the main one, and then you got to sit through 25 minutes of that. It's like, I don't want to sit here and say they did nothing, but Israel Adesanya is saying that he's got 5 more rounds in him. That kind of ticks me off. Like, empty the gas tank, man. That's frustrating. That's frustrating. These pay-per-views are too expensive for that. And again, that's my stance as a fan, and I must take it. Dana, UFC, Lorenzo, all them, whoever, Joe Silva, Sean, they don't pay me. And if you're a fan, I'm going to keep saying that the UFC does not pay you. If the NBA, if a bad NBA goes on, they say it. Adam Silver doesn't go out and he doesn't feel bad. He doesn't say a word. Dana, Ari Emanuel, WME, the UFC staff, those guys have thick skin. They have thick skin. They'll be all right. If you didn't like it, say it. I didn't like this fight. I'm saying it. Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero, kind of a dud. That's where I'm at on it. Maybe I'll change my tune later on in the week when I watch it back. But as I sit here right now, love the co-main event. Can't speak enough about the co-main event. Top tier striking, especially from Weili in the later rounds, because I feel like she was really losing those first couple rounds. And I had written it off right there. I was like, oh, okay, it's just assumed Weili's going to lose it. She had a nice little run, cute little story. That's it. Neil Magny, for me, he's my fighter of the card for sure, just because I really wanted to see where the guy was at. But as far as those 3 fights, those were just 3 things I wanted to touch on. Don't want to start going all over the place and getting deep because, yeah, this is a fresh reaction, just something, try it new. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at Nixon_speaks. The co-main event, Joanna Jedrzejczyk, she was taking on Weili Zhang. Weili Zhang came out victorious via decision. In the main event, Yoel Romero, he was taking on Israel Adesanya. Adesanya, he is still your UFC middleweight champion. And it was kind of a dud.